So what we're going to do is show you exactly how you can put your own land into a Rad 7.22 or Rad Sandbox. So I'm going to open up a stock piece of land that I built. And we'll start with that. Okay, I guess I screwed that up. That's okay, we got lots of time. So we're starting from now again. Okay, there we go. Okay, so okay. So we're going to start by opening a land model, and we'll do that in Unwrap. That's unless I'm actually modeling something, I almost always use Unwrap now, because even if I need to model something, Unwrap has a lot of features that will allow you to do that. It's really almost a perfect modeling system. I find myself using it more and more and more. And I'm not a spokesman for Unwrap, and I don't know Brad Bolthouse, the creator. I just think it's a great piece of software. I purchased it twice. I purchased the regular version, and then I purchased the Pro version, which I really enjoy. It allows me to work in 64-bit. So we're going to go to our model directory on drive D. And that's going to be here. This is a really large drive. I've got all my serious stuff on it that I need. So 3D objects. Let's go find a suitable piece of land and go from there. Let's see here. Where DirectX. I could pick from something else and simply convert it to, and we may end up doing that. But we'll start from start. Here's some Bob's Track Builder tracks that I made. Let's take a look at one of those. And okay, what do we got here? Okay, so you got a track, which it looks like I've done a little tiny bit of work on. Not a lot. If you double click on perspective, it'll give you that as your only shot. There you go, so you can see what you're doing. Actually, it's not a bad little road or a bad little layout. There's nothing there except the land, and I'm not going to do a whole lot with that. But we'll come over to materials, and you can see all the pieces that we have already set up here. Let me drag this over a little bit so I know what I'm working on. Let's see. Grass, tarmac. Okay, so we're going to take, let's see here. Let's just start selecting this. Okay, that's the side, so we'll leave those two. We'll unselect that. So we're going to go ahead and choose this to work with. And the first thing we're going to do is texture it. So we're going to take all these side pieces that Bob's Track Builder made when it made the model. It saves them in little small parts so that if you want to, you can go through and make everything exactly the way you want to. But for the purposes of this, we're not going to do that. So we're just going to go and select all of these. So we'll start with that one. Where are we? Well, okay, so there we go, right there. Just the part of it that's under. Okay, we're just going to go down the list and select them. We're going to continue to do that till we have the whole thing selected, with the exception of the tarmac and the sides of the road. Now, this is only so that I can blanket it in one texture. You may not want to do that, so after you create your track or whatever you're going to do in whatever program you're going to create it in, go through and split it into the sections you want. That way you're able to take a small section and make grass blending in with desert or whatever you want for your particular terrain. What I'm doing here is making a terrain that we're going to import into 3D Rad. And so rather than speed it up and show you mouse clicks, I'm actually showing you what I'm doing. It's a little boring, yeah, but we'll get through this. Everything will be selected. We'll blanket it with a texture, and we'll end up having three materials to deal with in this particular model. The one thing about working with Ultimate Unwrap is it's not destructive unless you make it destructive. It doesn't write to the file and immediately change it. In fact, if you close it without saving it, you'll lose whatever work you were doing. I prefer to have something like that happen than end up at the end of it and realize that I just destroyed a model because it's been saving it all along. This doesn't. In the end, you can save it as a new model. You can overwrite the old model. I don't know what I'll want to do with this racetrack at another time. So for now, I'm just going to keep my changes right in a new model file. Here's an easier way to do this. Let's go up to select. Let's select all. There we go. I don't know why I'm doing this the hard way. Okay, select all. Then we'll go to tarmac and we'll unselect that. Then we'll go to the first grass one and we'll unselect that because that's the sides of the road. There we go. Now we'll take all of this and we'll add that to the material list as one unit, and we'll come down here, click on Untitled twice, and we'll rename it We'll just call it grass. There. Now we'll come up to groups, and we'll do the same thing. Now understand that I could keep this all the same in the groups, so that if I wanted to do something with each individual piece, I could, but I'm not interested in that. So we're going to come up to groups. We're going to click on that untitled we just made, change it to grass. Okay. Now we're going to do this. We'll go to materials and we'll prune. We're going to lose quite a few, 55 materials removed. And we'll come up to here, groups, and we'll do the same thing, prune. 55 materials removed. There we go. Now we've got a much easier thing to deal with. We'll rename this to road. We'll rename this to sides. And do the same thing here in the material list so that everything matches correctly. And I'm double clicking on these to make the piece come up to change them. So there, now we've accomplished what we wanted to accomplish. Come over here. Let's go back to a 4-window view. There we go. But we want to click off on what we have selected. So we'll come over here and do that. And you see I've already taken most of this and laid it out the way I want it. And alright, so if we come over here and we select road, we're going to get just the road. Bang. And that's already laid out in a straight line. So if we want sides, we'll get just the sides. There you go. And if we want grass, we'll get the whole piece, which we have just consolidated into one piece. There you go. Okay. Now the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all these bones because they're referring to individual pieces that no longer exist. So let's just get rid of that. Delete all the bones. It'll rebuild new ones for what we're doing and what we need. So we've done that. So now we have our track ready to throw some textures on it. First, we're going to save this in a folder so that we can track our progress. So we're going to save it, save as. You come down here and it uses its own proprietary file format, U3D. That is not what we want. So we're going to come down to DirectX. You can see I've got quite a lot of the plugins installed. There's Ogre because I use Ogre a lot. SketchUp, I use that a lot. DirectX, of course. Lightwave files, LWO, Quake files, Collada, DAE, OpenGL, because that's what you use when you're compiling stuff, and I need it sometimes. 3DS, objects, and on and on and on. We're going to save this as an X file. So we're going to come over here to our file manager and we're going to make a temporary file in our working directory. So we're going to make a new file, a new directory here, a new folder here in our working directory. That's what I do to keep things straight. So this will be new land. There you go. So then we're going to save this in DirectX, and we're going to go to D, and we're going to go to the working directory. There's our new land, and we're going to name this, we'll just name it new land. New land X. Now we've done part of our work right there. The dialog box is going to pop up. It's already set up. The guy is really good at what he does when he makes plugins for models and different formats. So this is already set up. It will go right into Rad or anything else that uses DirectX with these default settings. And I would suggest not to change these unless you know what you're doing. Okay, so we're going to save it. There it is. It's saved. So now we're going to do some texture work. So we're going to come back to our directory again. We're going to go over to our pictures directory, and we're going to come down to textures. There's several different ones here. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. I have made so many texture files, or purchased them, or found open source textures, that I just have a lot of them. And you can see that's just one folder. So we're going to go down to, let's see, we want asphalt. Is that what we're looking for? Apparently not in this one. Roads. Road. Okay, here's roads. So all we really care about is putting a texture on this road. And we've got a ton of stuff that we can choose from. And as I said before too, you can take apart the sections of this model. You want a part that's damaged? I've got stuff that you can use. You want a part that's nice and clean? Great. You need a part that has stripes on it? I've got that too. So it's a pretty comprehensive collection. I think we're going to stick with something that will tile. Let's try this. So we're going to copy this. And we're going to drop it in the new folder that we just made, which is going to be over on D in the working directory and new land. Oop, that's my city project. Getting used to a trackball instead of a mouse. New land. So we're going to paste that there. That's going to be, we're going to rename it to road only. That's going to be our road surface. Then we're going to go back to pictures again. And we're going to pick some terrain stuff, our texture files again, but we're going to go for grass or something like that. Now, I'm not picking the best stuff that I could. I'm not really trying to work at making this a perfect model yet. I'm just working at getting it into Rad. And to get it into Rad, I have to assign textures to it. I can change those textures afterwards. This is perfect right here for me. This is a 512 by 512 tileable grass surface. Perfect. So we'll copy that, and we'll go back to our folder again, and we'll paste that. that is going to be grass for us. Now notice I'm saving these in JPEG. I believe 3D Rad 722 you had to use DDS, and you can still use DDS, but I've switched entirely to JPEGs in the Rad Sandbox as a base format. But you can also still use DDS if you want to. I just find it's much easier to just use JPEG, and the engine will translate it with no problem, instead of going through the trouble using DDS. No maps or none of that stuff. Okay. It'll also read GIFs. So if you're looking for transparency with GIFs or PNG, it will read those too. So we've got our road, we've got our grass. We're going to go back to our pictures again, and we're going to look for, we're going to go back to the first texture file that we were in here, folder I should say. We're going to go back to roads again, and this time we're going to be looking for sides of the road. I'm really looking for something that will differentiate itself from the grass and from the other. This looks good. This is tileable, and we've already straightened out the sides. This will fit the sides. One side will go to the grass, one side will go to the road, and it'll work fine for what we're doing right now, which is just showing you how to do this. So we're going to copy this, and again we're going to back up to our directory right there. We're going to paste it, and we're going to rename it side. There you go. Okay, so now we're going to slide this file manager out of our way. We're going to come over here. We're going to go to road first. Double click on the materials. Go to maps. Has none. So we're going to choose bitmap. And then we're going to choose properties. The dialog box will open. And we're going to change it because there's nothing there. These are the ones that we've already put in here. So we're on road, we're going to choose our road, open, and it's going to assign that. Okay, so So we've got this here. Let's see. What we've got going on here. We'll go to sides. We'll open it. We'll do the same thing. Bitmap. Properties, we'll change it. Dialog box pops up. Change. We'll choose side. Okay. Okay. Grass. Double click. Maps. Bitmap. We're doing the same process over and over, so we can assign that texture to this. And then we will go, we'll save the model again, and then we can reload it with the textures. So we are now on grass. Okay, yeah. Alright, so we're going to save this. And again, we're saving it in the DirectX. It's saving it to the file in the work folder that we made. We're going to go OK. We're going to close that. So now we're going to come back and we're going to reload New Land. We've just closed it and reloaded it with our textures. So now we got our textures in here, and they're not great. Our side texture's not rendering correctly, but the road is nice. And the grass looks pretty good. In fact, when you're driving on it, it'll probably look great. So let's go here again to materials and try to adjust that side. So we will select materials. I'm not really sure where our side piece is. Side. Well, first we'll go to select, and we'll select none. Now we'll come over to sides and select sides. There we go. Okay, so that's why that was not rendering all that well, because it's not set up to do that. So what we'll do with that is we'll choose scaled uniformly and we'll shrink it, and we'll use the move tool and we'll put it right there. So now we're going to come back over to our directory from the file manager. We have a better idea of what we need. This is not what we need, so we're going to delete that. I apparently set this up, or Bob's Track Builders set this up to use a tileable kind of a thing. So we'll use a tileable thing. We'll come back to Pictures. We'll come down to the first texture file folder. Right here. We'll open it and we'll go looking for probably grass again, I would think, instead of road this time. So we'll go back to grass, but we're looking for something a little mixed, you know, like a mixture of grass and road. We could use overlays if we had to. I really don't want to do that. I think that's what we're using for the rest of the base. We'll just try this. I think this will be fine. So we'll copy that. It's a little darker. We'll copy that and we'll go backwards. Or we'll just click on our recent stuff to New Land and we'll paste that. Now we're going to save that as side again. There you go. Now let's get our file manager out of our way. And we're going to come back here to sides. Map. We have the bitmap, So we'll go to Properties. We'll take the dialog box and bring it up, and we'll change this to this, which it had already done because I named it the same, but we'll just make absolutely certain here. Now we'll go back to our 4-window view, and we'll save this. Trying to save it without agreeing with the dialog box. There you go. Okay, saved. Alright, now we've actually made our land right there, 3.78 megabytes. We've got our road, we've got our side piece, and we've got our grass piece. This is really all we need to begin to just transfer it over to Rad. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to come over here and check out Rad. I'm going to make sure which version I'm using. Okay, we're going to be doing this for the new 2022 Rad build. So we're going to find that over on drive D. So we'll go to drive D, and it is under Race Rad and 2022 3D Rad Execute. So here we are. We're in the Rad directory, which will be the Rad release for 2022. And we're going to come into our folder. We're going to come into Objects, and we're going to use this as a rigid body. So we're going to come down to rigid body. This is how we're going to import it. And we're going to come to Data. And we're going to make something unique. Let's call it, we'll just call it New Land 001. So we're going to make a new folder. New Land. so we've saved our new land 0001, 001, not 000. Okay, double click, open it. Now we're going to come over and we're going to do a second instant. Only to make things easier. We're going to go to new land over here where we're working on it, and we're going to copy all these files. Copy. And we'll slide that out of our way and we'll drop that right into this new folder. There you go. We have our textures and we have our new land. Now, if you go over here, back to data, right, and you're looking for how we name these, you'll see right here, it's rigid body and rigid body mesh. You have this. This is the format that you're going to use. So we're going to come back. We're going to go to new land. And we're going to rename it. Or we're going to copy it first. We'll keep the original file. We'll paste it. So instead of new land copy, we're going to name it rigid body. Right? Now we're going to copy rigid body. We're going to copy that. We're going to paste that. And we're going to name that mesh. This being left here is not going to hurt anything. I always do that because then if I want to change this, I have the original file right there, a copy of it. These, although changed in name, will still access these textures. No problem. Now, the only thing we have a problem with now is that we don't have anything in the index to connect us to new land. In other words, we don't have a way to choose it. So we'll come back to data and we will look for the index file, which is right in front of my eyes, right there. So if you have an index, or if you have a file in the index that has the same name as a folder, that is how Rad loads it for you, using that name, right? So we're going to come back and open our model in Ultimate Unwrap again, and we're going to make ourselves a folder or an icon for the index. Now if you look at these, you look at the properties, I believe they're 256 or 128 by 128. Yeah, 128 by 128. So 128 width, 128 height, right? So you're going to come over here and you're going to use I'm going to use a screen capture tool. Comes with Windows. It's snip and sketch. So I'm going to choose new, and when the screen browns, there you go, I'm going to cut me out a little piece of this. We'll go with, I guess we'll go with that, which is not perfect. But we have it now, and we're going to save it. And where are we going to save it? Right to our directory. There's new land. So this is a JPEG. We're going to call this, what are we going to call this? We're going to call it the exact file name. What is our other, oh, that's not what we're looking for. Anyway, we'll rename it in a second, but for now we're going to save it as the new land 001, I think is what we called it. Anyway, notice that that's how I typed it. I'm not sure if that's correct yet. We're going to make a check on that in a minute. But you have to be exact on your syntax and exact on your lower uppercase. Everything's got to be exact. Otherwise, you're calling the wrong file. So for now, we're going to save it in the working directory, and we're going to save it under new land 001. There, we're done. Now we'll get rid of that, and we'll come back over to our file manager, and we will be looking to see back in our directory here, or is it already here? There we are. Okay, so data, or data if you prefer. I always think of data as a robot, or a fake human being, but and data is something else. I don't know why. Don't even know why I said that. That's pretty stupid. Okay, so there we are. That is the name of our directory. Capital N, lowercase e, w dash, capital L, AND dash 001. I believe that is exactly what we named our little piece here. We'll come back over here and we will see capital N, EW dash, capital L, AND dash 001. That's exactly correct. So we're going to double click on this and open it in Photoscape and turn it into a 128 by 128. Now this is boring to me, hopefully not to you, because I've watched a lot of videos that show you how to bring things in to Rad, but they leave parts out, or they skip over parts, or they, I don't know, it's just poorly presented. This is a step-by-step way to do it that'll work every time. We're waiting for Photoscape to open our image. Oh, I see it opened in another universe. But there's our piece in Photoscape. I use Photoscape all the time. We got a 504 by 379. We're going to come to Home. We're going to add some margins on the bottom, and we're going to use gray. I think that's a correct one. So actually cancel that. Let's just go to crop and see if we can just get our 128 or square. 373, 365. There you go. 340, 339 by 339. There you go. Crop. Now we'll come to Home and Object, I should say. Home. Right, yes. And we'll resize it. We'll just put 128 in the top, it'll fill it in on the bottom because we're preserving the aspect ratio. And we'll click OK. There you go. That is our little icon. And we'll call it New Land. New Land. And we'll put that right there on the bottom. That'll tell us enough. You can make a fancier one if you want to. And we're just going to save it. We're not going to try to change anything. Save. Saving it to exactly what it was. And it's 128 by 128. So now we're going to copy this. Right? We're going to drag our other folder over here. And we're coming back to index. And we're going to paste it right here into the index. There it is, right there. New Land 001. So now we're going to slide this out of the way. Slide this out of the way. Close this. And we're going to open up Rad, Rad 22 build. Now this is going to come up in a different, on a different screen. What did I do? I just shut it down. That was smart. Okay, so we're going to do this again. We're going to bring Rad 2022 up. And I'm getting used to this trackball, which is rough. But I will eventually be able to do it. Yes, I know you want me to relaunch. Okie dokie, Aniko Oakley. Okay, and again. So we're gonna put this over here.